What do you do when the sky doesn't give you an answer? When there is no divine blueprint folded into your passport, how do you decide what your life is for? That quiet, unnerving absence is the hook of secular humanism. Not despair at a purposeless cosmos, but a dare to build a life of meaning using our own minds, hands, and shared compassion. Maya sat at her table with 3 open tabs: vaccination maps, a mortality heat map, and a draft of policy recommendations. By day, she translated raw numbers into public health action. By night, she watched the same data turn into anxious plots in her head. The work was intellectually thrilling, but sometimes she felt like an outsider looking in on a story she was trying desperately to co-author. If the cosmos offered no prescription, how would she write a life that felt binding, noble, and true? Secular humanism answers with a confident, plain-spoken claim. Meaning is something human beings make, together and intelligibly, through flourishing grounded in reason, empathy, and freedom. It does not sneer at wonder or deny depth. Rather, it locates the sacred not in supernatural provenance, but in the real, measurable well-being of conscious creatures. People matter intrinsically. That mattering becomes the moral North Star. Reason and evidence are the craft tools of this project. Science isn't a cold rival to meaning. It's the best method we have for understanding what helps people thrive. Skepticism is a discipline of humility. We test our assumptions, admit error, and revise. For Maya, that meant treating her insights about community health not as pronouncements, but as hypotheses to be refined, always accountable to lived outcomes. The tidy satisfaction of a well-run study carried extra weight because it could translate into fewer preventable deaths, more stable childhoods, healthier futures. But secular humanism is not only about analysis, it's about solidarity. Flourishing is relational. Your health, freedom, and flourishing are entangled with mine. The movement toward human dignity requires institutions, public education, transparent governance, science funding, fair legal systems that channel individual reason into collective benefit. These institutions are not magic. They are human inventions that succeed when people care for them and hold them to high standards. Maya's spreadsheets mattered because they informed policies that did, at scale, change lives. There's also an aesthetic and existential dimension. Humanism doesn't reduce meaning to utility. Beauty, curiosity, love, humor, these are central to a life worth living. Creativity lets us respond to mortality with artful courage. Storytelling lets us build shared narratives that outlast single lifetimes. Identity in this view is a story we author with others, what values we choose, what projects we sustain, what injustices we resist. This framework accepts limits without shrinking from responsibility. Progress is tentative, not guaranteed. Suffering persists, biases persist. The moral posture required is one of persistent, reasoned care. Act with evidence, revise with humility, and keep expanding circles of concern. Meaning becomes an active verb, forged in disciplined compassion rather than passively received. For Maya, the reorientation came quietly. She stopped treating data as abstract and began treating it as testimony. Each dot on a map became a story of a child reached by a clinic, an elder who could stay with their family, a community that could recover after disaster. Her research meetings felt less like sterile conferences and more like strategy sessions for a long-term human project. The satisfaction was not metaphysical certainty, but practical fidelity, a recognition that her intellect and empathy, used well, could make life measurably better. Secular humanism says, if there is no cosmic script, write one worth reading. We draft it with reason, revise it with evidence, and enact it with solidarity. Meaning, in this view, is not an answer handed down from above, but a legacy we build together. Incremental, imperfect, and profoundly human. Maya's spreadsheets didn't stop being spreadsheets. They became instruments of care. And in that transformation, she found a deep, steady kind of meaning. The kind that comes from helping more people flourish, now and for the future.